New York, New York.
New York be about the Knicks, huh?
But the best thing about New York City is
K-N-I-C-K. Everybody say go New York, go New York, go!
Go New York, go New York, go!
Hey everybody, welcome to the New York Knicks podcast, episode 649, which coincidentally is the amount of injuries the Knicks were dealing with in the Pacers series. I am Jay. How you doing, Mark?
I am doing, I'm doing, Knicks, we kind of missed the second round. Not missed as in both of us watched it. Jay was away, couldn't really find time to do a podcast. Pretty lame of us for the most important series in the last 20 years.
It is what it is. I started a new job, and part of my initiation was spending a week in their corporate office in Baltimore. So didn't have my podcasting equipment in Baltimore.
I was too stressed by the whole series to do it without Jay. Anyway, let's hit with the topics. A couple topics for the show. We're going to cover someone on this show is going to do something that's never been done. Never been done on any. I mean, we're not really media, I guess, but in the general sports landscape, they will take credit for being wrong on the prediction they made.
Okay.
And the other person can decide their punishment because there really are consequences to getting their prediction wrong.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We'll also discuss the irony that Leon Rose's biggest mistake during his tenure led to the Knicks losing in the second round.
Okay.
We'll discuss Kawhi's struggles to stay on the court, and are they related to a chance encounter with Tibbs? Also, did Tibbs ruin Greg Oden's career? We'll discuss the no excuses people and see if we can come up with a dumber take on the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to where'd my go? God damn it. We're going to discuss how the team will build around their 1A superstar, Alec Burks. We'll discuss whether the Knicks will trade Randall or just blow it up this offseason to give Knicks fans and media a cure for their offseason boredom.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll discuss whether iHeart would take a discount to be a reoccurring guest on the Roommates podcast, and whether OG will suffer a season-jeopardizing injury while signing a max extension. All that and more today on the Knicks show.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
So I am going to admit it's me. I'm going to admit I made a prediction for the second round of the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not yet confirmed, but I think it's leaning towards me being wrong about the Knicks winning this series in 5 games. What do you think, Jay?
I think you might have been wrong on that.
Are you sure? Are you sure there's not a chance the Knicks can still win it in 5 games?
It was one of those could have been, would have been, should have been, but it wasn't.
My understanding is the Pacers filed a grievance in Game 2 to get that overturned.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to file a grievance for Game 3 to get Nembhard's 3, which the NBA has said he was traveling on, get that overturned. And if you get that overturned, Knicks win the series in 5 games.
There you go.
Maybe.
We'll go with that.
We'll go with that. Jay, what are the consequences for getting a prediction wrong? As Stephen A gets them wrong all the time with no consequences, what is the consequence?
I think the consequence is you get free front row seats to Game 7 of elimination, and you become the highest paid media mogul in the world.
Okay, I accept those consequences. I'm excited to take Stephen A's place when he's fired.
Just don't do it more than like 7 or 8 more times in a row.
Okay. Well, if I get that job replacing Stephen A, I think I'm only allowed to give bad takes.
Probably, yeah.
But I'm sure I've not heard Stephen A's takes from the last game. I'm assuming it's something along the lines of where was Jacob Toppin, and Alex Burks is a superstar, and if the Knicks had why did they leave Amari on the bench? I'm assuming that's Stephen A's takes.
So we were both at the game. The game wasn't great, but the crowd was just unbelievable. The second quarter, the Knicks are down by 22. The crowd just spontaneously does a standing ovation and goes nuts, trying to just like will this team into making a run.
There were a couple of times where the crowd really tried to will this team back. It was like my son came. I took my son, and I paid Jay got an amazing deal on the tickets. I paid a small fortune. Um, my son, who when we watch at home, kind of stares at his phone, doesn't really pay that much attention. At the game, he was all in. All he was screaming was, "Why are they not playing defense? Why? Why was that guy so open? Why are you giving him so much space? Get in his face. Why are they not playing defense?" Just over and over again, he was screaming about them not playing defense.
I mean, they were shooting about 80% at halftime. It was a combination of the Knicks were a step slow and the Pacers were just hitting every single shot. They were hitting some difficult shots, they were hitting some easy shots. They
I
just hit
didn't keep
everything.
track, but I'm pretty sure during warmups when no one was guarding them, they did not shoot 80%.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It was crazy. I mean, I kept saying at the end of the first, I was like, "There's no way they're going to shoot 79% for the next three quarters." And then it was like around 80% at half. I'm like, "Well, there's no way the second half they're going to." And I was right. They didn't shoot 80% for the second half, but they ended up at what 67%.
Something insane.
It was
Yes.
the highest, I think,
It was
ever.
record-setting.
Yeah, it was record setting. So like,
You,
you know,
usually when a team like also comes out really hot, like if they shoot 80% for the first quarter, the good thing is all the makes are usually out of the way. Then
Yeah.
they shoot like 20% the rest of the game, and afterwards you're like, I shot 40%, but like three of the quarters they shot like 20%. Like usually you don't stay hot for that whole game,
yeah,
and every goddamn shot just went in. I I saw Halliburton only had like what 26 points or something like that.
hmm
He could have had 50 step back threes for all like I'm concerned. And like every time Miles Turner, Siakam was open, they just did not miss their damn shots.
TJ McConnell was ridiculous. I mean,
I was it's shocking how few points actually he scored because I really thought he scored so many more points.
how was your mental state after this game?
Um yeah. We my son really likes Korean barbecue. Korean barbecue is right around MSG. We went for some Korean barbecue. That was fun. That took my mind off of it. Otherwise, I'm fine. I don't know. It was a rough game.
It was a rough game, but I'm okay. I mean,
Are you?
I am because one, the Pacers played their ass off. I'll give them kudos for that. They didn't play dirty like Philly did. It was just they beat the Knicks.
We're gonna
And-
really praise the Pacers the rest
No,
of the
no,
episode.
no,
That's
that was it.
wonderful.
That was
Great.
it.
Go you Pacers.
I also hate, Halliburton's a poser and Turner's a fake tough guy. But I will say that the Knicks were just too banged up. And when Brunson fractured his hand in the third quarter, I was like, you know what? Like, what can you do at this point? You have like 7 injured guys. I mean, you had 5 guys
Yeah.
out, and then iHeart and Hart are just hobbling around.
Jay, I'm gonna ask you to just repeat all this, but I'm gonna be Nick's Twitter, the worst of Nick's Twitter, the worst of Twitter in responding to you. You could start again.
So the Knicks had just too many injuries. It caught up with them.
No excuses. Just no excuses.
I mean, no team in the playoff history has ever had this many injuries.
The Pacers are without Matherin. Sometimes you have to you should practice, you should play your team so they're healthy.
Isn't Matherin like the equivalent of losing Bogdanovich?
Listen, no excuses. The Knicks are just a bad organization and they just should disband. They have to trade everyone. They're just no excuses. It doesn't count. No one's ever used that excuse before. No one's. If you have excuses, you're just a losing organization.
You're doing a perfect imitation of Twitter.
It really is. It really is. Like especially, Tommy D, maybe the worst of Knicks Twitter, and he's like just like no excuses. Like other teams have injuries. You're supposed to. His take was you are supposed to be your organization is supposed to avoid injuries. Like if injuries are happening, you're supposed to mitigate them. If they happen, it's your own fault.
So
Which literally half the NBA is injured. Yeah, but it's a Knicks fault. That random crap happens.
So when Brunson fractured his hand, the Knicks did go on a bit of a run. They pulled it within like 8. And I'm thinking like, can they just do this miracle run one more time and close this out? And then I'm thinking, to what end? Then they're gonna play Boston with no Brunson. Like they're down to like 6 guys. Like, and then the whole media is gonna be like, oh, the Knicks got swept by Boston. I knew they weren't real. Like ignoring the fact that like 80% of the starting lineup is out. So then I was like, you know what? Like, just cheer every play, just enjoy the moment. The Knicks crowd was great. They gave the players, they gave OG a standing ovation. They gave Hart a standing ovation. Like, it was very supportive. It wasn't like Philly, who boos their team in the first quarter of a playoff game. The Knicks fans in the middle of a blowout were cheering the team the whole time. It was great.
I feel like if the Knicks had somehow won the game yesterday and made it to Boston, it'd be like the movie Final Destination with injuries. Like it's not like McBride's just looking around, like it's like he's just trying to avoid things, and a car just like drives through a wall and knocks him out. Like
Right.
everyone's gonna get randomly injured throughout the series.
It's like, oh, we forgot to injure Devo. He was supposed to die in that crash.
Yeah, it's gonna be just like Charlie Brown and Tibbs out there, just like being like, okay, we can take them. Okay, Charlie, you got to guard 1 through 3. I'm gonna guard 4 and 5. Let's do this. Tibbs, should we just give up? Charlie, we never give up.
I mean, Memphis got just as injured, but they ended up with one of the worst records in the league. Like, I've just never seen a team even get to the second round like this injured. It was ridiculous.
I mean, as far as the series, the Nemhart shot is the difference. Nemhart doesn't hit that shot. Knicks win game 3. The Knicks take the series, but they just at some point your luck runs out with everyone's injured.
Yeah, it was too much. I mean, Dante was awesome. He had almost 40 points, but he looked like he could barely stand halfway through the fourth quarter. He was gassed. Burks was awesome. Burks really
Burks was
stepped
great.
up. It's just, yeah,
Can I give you my Burks theory, by the way?
sure.
We didn't do a show, so I didn't give you my Burks theory. Here's my Burks theory, because first of all, the media has all been like, why has Tibbs buried Burks? Why was he playing him? He's a veteran, blah, blah, blah. They buried Burks because he was horrible. He was so bad when he played for the Knicks in the regular season. But now he was really good in the playoffs. You know what my theory is?
What?
They said his shoulder was hurting him. I bet he was injured, and not playing actually gave him time to recover.
Wait, so you're saying that sometimes a player might not play up to their normal level if they're health compromised?
No excuses. No excuses.
Okay. So, okay, I'm not going to get into the whole Randall thing right now.
No.
But we got all summer to do that. But yeah, I also
love
think,
it. I would love to see like this no excuse I'm picturing like just everything in life. Like your kid comes home and like the kid breaks his leg, and dad's like, well, you're a failure at sports. But my leg's broken. No excuses, son. No excuses.
should have conditioned yourself.
Should have conditioned yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, it was one of those like, what can he do at this point? I do want to say,
Jay, we failed as a show because no excuses. Well, you were away, you started a new job, life stuff got in the way. No excuses. You two should have told your job. No excuses.
I should have. Yeah. So I do want to say that as far as the injuries go, a lot of people are saying Tibbs plays the guys too much, and I really strongly disagree with that.
Okay, preach.
When the Knicks had a full roster minus Mitch in January, look at any box score from any game, and he had a normal minutes rotation. The Randall
Amen,
injury,
brother, preach.
The Randall injury was with 4.5 minutes left in the game. Both teams were playing all their starters. That was still a game that both coaches were trying to win.
Jay, maybe the coach should have told him not to jump in the air or gave him wings.
Or
Either
just
way, Tibbs' fault.
don't try him offense.
Playing his guy without wings.
Mitch, he hurt his ankle. He didn't play above 35 minutes more than once the entire season, and that was 37 minutes. So that was not minutes related.
Clearly, Mitch should have played more minutes. If you want to get Mitch not injured, you got to play him 48 minutes. You have to know which guy to play 48 and which not to play 48.
Yeah. Bogdanovich was a fluke injury. I mean, you could maybe argue like OG maybe, but
OG's injured every year.
But I mean, OG really only played a lot of minutes after for like
played a lot
10
of minutes in
games.
the playoffs.
He played
But,
like he played a lot of minutes for like 10 games and then got injured. That's not like that's a fluke thing. Like if an NBA player can't play 10 games of a lot of minutes, I don't know what to tell you. That's not the thing.
I mean, people act like they're running 48 minutes straight. There's timeouts. There's stuff that goes on in between. Obviously, you want to get guys in and out of the game. The Knicks didn't have the depth. Like, it is what it is. You have guys in the roster just there taking up space. Like, the Knicks have draft picks this year. Use the draft picks. Get more depth.
They have
No
a lot
offense.
of depth, though. I mean, they only
They
played a
did,
lot of
but-
minutes when like 5 guys got injured. The 4 I just mentioned were fluky. Obviously, Brunson, he smacked his hand on Halliburton's knee. That's a fluke. Maybe you could say Josh Hart, but that was after 5 guys got injured. Like,
Better coaching would have had Brunson's hand go through Halliburton's knee.
Hart was banged up. Like, he couldn't play a full
Josh
game.
Hart's ab injury. Like, what the hell? Like everything. Like,
Anyway.
everything went wrong.
I don't put any of that on Tibbs. I think that's just like people repeating what they saw on the news or social media from like 6 years ago or something, like, because he played Luol Deng a lot of minutes. Like, it's not reality.
I don't really understand the whole idea that Luol Deng like was so broken from Tibbs playing him that he became like like he couldn't play anymore.
Even that's probably complete horseshit. It's just, yes, he did probably lead. I think he led the league in minutes, but I don't think it was so egregious that like he destroyed him.
I mean, Kawhi is treated like a dainty flower, and he cannot get staying on the court. I mean, I think what is it? Clyde talked about when he played. He played like 40, like he played over 40 minutes a game the whole playoffs. He was healthy. Some guys are healthy, some guys are not. I mean, it just. I think Tibbs is a great coach. I think he should be extended. They should back up the Brinks truck to extend him. It's insane not to. He gets his team playing so goddamn hard. I love the transformation the team has made under Tibbs and Leon Rose.
I do too. They got a lot of the same personalities where they all go all out on every play. It's a team that likes scrapping. They like crashing the boards. They like playing hard defense. Like they all mesh really well. I want them to re-sign iHeart and OG, use those 2 draft picks, and just run the whole team back.
They got three. Well, they got the 24th, 25th, and I think the 38th.
I'm not
So a
counting.
high second round pick.
Oh, yeah, I'm
also.
not counting the 38th.
Oh, you're not? Because let's see. Our best player was a second round pick. Also McBride, huge contributor, also a second round pick. Mitch, a second round pick. iHeart, I think a second round pick also.
Okay.
A lot of good players go in the second round. I think you should not treat the 30th pick like it's a throwaway because our roster proves you can find guys throughout the draft who are awesome.
Touche. And I will say, even if the 38th pick doesn't work out, you could probably use that in place of Charlie Brown.
Yes, I was gonna say no matter how bad the guy, and I don't know that much about Charlie Brown. I just know he's not an NBA player. Same with Jacob Toppin, and Jacob Toppin may be the best of the 4 guys on the bench, but like they need to have even the 15th guy to at least be an NBA project, someone we're really developing, not just guys who are just like there because like the seats need to be warmed on the bench.
I mean, I really honestly feel like this is a championship core, though. Say they bring everybody back, they're legitimately 11 deep.
Yeah, no, they're really good. I mean, I don't know if they're gonna bring Burks back, but Bogdanovich, they have the team option, so he's coming back or will be in a trade.
Yeah.
Burks, I would not give. Well, Burks looked good in the playoffs. I'd give him a vet deal. That's about it, like a vet minimum deal. He's not worth more, and he can't be guaranteed playing time either.
Well, yeah, he's probably out of the rotation. I mean, he's the 11th man right now. He had a great run in the playoffs, but he's the 11th man on this team. That's how deep the team is. People are saying like, oh, everyone is playing 40-some minutes. Yeah, they were all injured. With this full team, guys like Burks and Precious aren't even in the rotation.
I mean, Precious is probably not coming back just because he'll probably cost too much. But realistically, like, you finally have a real culture here. And the culture is a 90s type culture of just like, grind it out. We will do anything to win. And then anyone that joins this team has to adapt to that culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's the kind of culture you want in New York.
I think they're being very careful of the players they try and get, too. They're not going to get a guy who's maybe an all-star but kind of dogs it sometimes. Like, I don't think they're going to even entertain that kind of scenario.
No, not at all. So just the last point on this series, I mentioned this in my topic introductions, but do you think it's that some irony that basically the Knicks lost to Leon Rose's biggest mistake, Halliburton.
I mean, yeah,
There's some irony there.
there is a little bit of irony there. I mean, he might not fit culturally with the team, but they still should have drafted him.
Oh, of course. They should have drafted him. It is what it is. But and he's kind of a bitch, but like he played amazingly in a game 7. Mad props to the guy.
Yeah, I mean, he has such an ugly shot. Every time he shot it, I'm like, oh, there's no way that's going in. And just shot after shot went in. It was very aggravating.
Well, that was the knock on him coming out of college. Is like they're like, we don't like how he shoots. You're like, yeah, but it's going in college. It's the same basket. It's the same hoop in the NBA. Like it's probably going to go in the NBA.
Yeah, I guess some people just have weird form, but if it works, it works.
But I don't know, whatever it works for him. But yeah, so the off season, we have. So here's the story of the off season. OG, he misses a ton of games. He's going to want like 35 million, maybe 40, somewhere in that range. Let's say it's 35.
Yeah.
You doing it, Trey? You gonna go the guy who's injured literally every season, and forget whether he plays a lot of minutes or a few minutes. He's injured every season.
Mm-hmm.
We are really by re-signing him. You're really locking in this roster.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
I think you still have to do it because the team is 26-5 when he plays. I'm not counting the last game because he played 5 minutes. 26-5 when he plays, which is ridiculous.
When they did the intros, when they introduced OG and starting lineup OG and Josh Hart last, and partly maybe to get the biggest ovations.
Yeah.
When they introduced OG, the crowd went nuts.
Yeah.
And when he was in the game, I was like, I cannot believe they're both playing. And then immediately saw OG was not really able to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So I just think if you can get him for 35, it's not great. It's risky. You have guys just as risky, like Kawhi making 55, 60. So like it's not like a terrible contract. It does cap them out, but I think it's a risk you got to do. If you get him for 35, you get iHeart for 16. I think 16, 17 is what they can
I think
offer.
I sent you something on this. Someone did an analysis on Reddit. I don't have it in front of me, but they did a really great analysis of this. And basically, because of they have the early bird rights to him because he's only been, I guess it's 2 years. I forget the exact reasoning. Should I pull up the reasoning for this, or does it really matter?
It doesn't matter. It
doesn't matter. Anyway,
something with the bird rights, you can only offer him
him
170% of his prior, right?
Basically what it comes down to is the Knicks can only pay him about 17 million next year. I think they can pay him a little, like 8% more each year thereafter. The Knicks can probably sign him for like a 2-year deal with a player option for the year 3, and then let him like renegotiate. Then he'll have the bird rights and be able to negotiate a bigger contract from there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do 1 year. You can't just do a 1-year contract and get the bird rights because like it's a way of like trying to circumvent the bird rights.
Yeah.
So they make you sign at least 2 years. But then they can sign him to a greater contract. What do you think iHeart gets on the open market? The dude, in fairness,
Mm-hmm.
he was partly injured this year. His first year ever starting for any length of time. Wasn't the starter at the beginning of the year. He plays awesome defense. He's a good passer. Offensive wise, he doesn't have that many tricks around the basket. So he's not the best offensive player.
He doesn't spread the floor, really.
No. So he's kind of a center that puts up for you like 10, 12 rebounds a game. He gets maybe 10 points a game at most. Every once in a while, he'll do a little more. Get the block. He's awesome. But what does that get you in this NBA market?
I was thinking around 20.
Yeah.
I don't think much more than that. And with this chemistry, like, do you go to a scenario that's unknown for 20 when you can make 17 and be like the centerpiece of a team that has championship aspirations? Like,
Yeah. So it's the options available to him. So you're like, teams have to have both cap space and have a reason to like for him to sign there. Like
Right.
Detroit has cap space, but first of all, Detroit's already developing a center. What's his name? Who cares? They already have a center they're developing. They
Duran.
drafted 2 years ago. What'd you say?
Duran?
Yeah, Jalen Duran. But also like, do you trade? We just got knocked out in the second round of the playoffs. We haven't been to the playoffs in my lifetime with Detroit. Do you want to do that?
Right. Or
Also,
like Philly, do you want to, I mean, not that they would use their cap space on him, but if they did, do you want to play 12 minutes a game behind Embiid.
Right. So this guy's bounced around a little bit for a couple teams. This is the first team that he's actually started for. The first team he's got significant minutes for. The other option is OKC. But they have Chet already, but maybe they move Chet to the 4 and make iHeart the 5. Maybe you play 20, 25 minutes. You also have to go live in Oklahoma. His I think his wife or girlfriend, maybe his wife is a model. She thinks she wants to live in New York or Oklahoma.
Right.
Where do you think that's better for her career?
Yeah.
Other options? How many other teams really need centers?
There's not a lot, especially if you include the ones that would have cap space. I feel pretty good that the Knicks can run this entire team back if they want to. I know the media's already saying the Knicks are keeping an eye on a star and Randall's the trade piece if they can do it. What star is available that's going to be better than what Randall's doing?
It's just lazy journalism. But I think what you said before, iHeart will just look at it and go, I'll take $3 million less to play in New York because two things. First, I found a home here. The vibes are immaculate. And two, maybe if I take the money and play here, I can get a couple. They can give me some side deals with advertising. They can get some extra money to me.
Yeah.
Maybe they can make up the difference. I mean, I'm all for the Knicks skirting the rules and screw everyone else.
I mean, they're throwing Jaime Vasquez into national commercials. Like, you can't get, iHeart to be in a Brunson commercial or something.
I mean, Brunson also part of he's part of the commercials he's doing are that the Knicks are like, yeah, you're worth more money now, but like, give me some national commercial. We'll make it up for you.
Yeah.
Also this summer, the Knicks have the option to extend Brunson and Randall. Brunson, max contract, any issue?
No.
You don't want to tell him like, dude, you're not a 1A. We're gonna have to give you less money.
It's like, I'm sorry, but if you were only 3 inches taller.
You broke your hand at the last game. That's not just like getting injured. It's not what good NBA players do. I'm sorry. You're like a 1G.
I didn't see Edwards break his hand.
I didn't see it. Yeah. So yeah, you max him. Randall, you probably have the excuse of not maxing because he's coming off an injury, and you'll just say like, unless you're gonna give a big discount, you'll just say like, let's play it out and extend him the offseason.
Sure.
Which isn't crazy.
No.
I don't think that's crazy. I think trading him is insane. How much better would this team be with a Randall?
So much better. I mean, I don't want to get into it again, but the team sucked around Randall in 2021. And so the Hawks were focusing on Randall. They were able to double and triple team him. In 2023, his ankle was hurt. So I don't think he's going to go.
No excuses, Jay.
I know.
No excuses. If Randall was a complete failure in these playoffs for being unable to play. No excuses.
I just don't think he's going to go from being all NBA in the regular season to just straight up garbage, especially with this surrounding cast. So anyway, say Randall is even like a little bit worse than he is in the regular season in the playoffs. He's still drawing attention, and a lot more attention away from Brunson than Josh Hart is. As much as I love Hart.
If we only had someone that was big and could guard / take on Siakam, if there's only someone.
He also spreads the floor. I know his 3-point percentage isn't great, but you have to keep him honest. You don't have to do that with iHeart or Precious. So you have the floor spread. You have attention. He draws double teams sometimes.
So, sometimes he draws double teams all the time.
Right. And what are you going to do? You're going to double team him and then leave Brunson open? Or are you going to...
I mean, that's what would happen. That's how Brunson got all these open three.
Right.
John Brunson's shooting 3-point percentage was better when Randall was on the floor because he was drawing defenses.
Or you're going to double team Brunson like you were, and then you're going to leave Randall open. Like, it completely... We saw it. We saw it in January. They went 14-3. They blew out Denver. They blew out Philly. They beat Minnesota. Like, we saw it all.
You could argue maybe Randall could be more locked in on defense. Maybe he has momentary lapses. You can argue whatever, but the chance of trading out Randall and getting someone more perfect that also is all in on Tibbs is it's unrealistic. Like like Randall's like, you have to go with a guy like, he's a damn awesome player, 3-time All-Star. I'm pretty happy to have a 3-time All-Star basically on this roster who's coming back for next season.
Also, in the Knicks losses, I mean, the last two were bad. The other three losses, it was very, very close. You don't think Randall would have swung that game 3 points?
People were
Like,
saying some of the dumbest. They're like, you know what the Knicks need? Like, why didn't they have another like creator on the roster? Just bad management not to have another creator. Why all these 3-and-D shooters and no other creators? I'm like, they have another creator. He's been injured since January. How dumb are you?
yeah. No, I think this is a championship caliber roster with what the Knicks have.
So ESPN did a top trade targets for the Knicks in the offseason.
Already,
You wanna
they
go
couldn't
through these?
wait. I hate this. I hate this.
So let's start from the beginning. Devin Booker.
No.
So Devin Booker, who was awesome at getting eliminated in the first round and hasn't done jack in the playoffs in a while. Young, still an all-star player, still a really good player. You're going to trade out, I guess, DiVincenzo for Devin Booker. Is the roster that much better?
No, it's not. One, Devo is arguably a better three-point shooter at this point. He hit 9 threes last game.
That was pretty insane.
When's the last time Booker did that in a playoff game? His defense is better.
Yeah.
That I don't think you can argue. Devo's defense is better. His chemistry, he's best friends with the franchise star. I mean,
What if we get rid of the chemistry?
right. Yeah. What if we just break up the chemistry for a slight upgrade on offense, worse on defense? Oh, and he makes 5 times the salary.
I mean, Booker's a better player. I saw someone online saying they were talking about the moves the Knicks should make, and they included trading McBride. I'm like,
I
the
saw that.
best contract in the NBA you want to just move on from because you're just this dumb.
Guys
you also
making-
wanted to fire Tibbs, which is like, oh, we've had the most success we've had in the last 20 years of this coach. Let's get rid of him. Great idea.
So the Devo's a hard no. I mean, you can argue that Booker's better than Devo, but is he $40 million a year better?
No, you might want to use your resources differently. I also feel like with the draft picks, the Knicks need to draft a 3 and probably a 4. They need to get someone who can develop under OG, maybe someone that can develop for a backup under Randall. They need some more size, and you could do that in the draft.
Totally down. I mean, I think keep the draft picks, draft guys. But I really don't think you have to include cap
Okay,
space
Jay,
with
the next
this.
guy. Next guy.
Yeah.
Well, you can move. Well, they're moving, I guess. Everyone's moving Randall, I guess, to get these guys.
Yeah, but you're moving
and
Randall and
Bogdanovich.
Devo, or it's crazy. No.
Okay, so Mikal Bridges. So he would help. He would not hurt. He would help the vibes. He's another Villanova guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's close with these guys. He'd be awesome to get in this roster. I don't know how you do it, and I really kind of feel like the Nets are not going to be like, "Hey, we remember that time we won the city with Durant and Kyrie. Let's now win the city again by getting Bridges to the Knicks."
So with Bridges, I think the only trade that works because you're getting Bridges to complete the Villanova lineup, right? Like you're
You
bringing
kind of have to trade. You have to trade Randall based
right
on the money.
and aren't they a little too small if he's playing the 4?
Yeah, I mean, he's more of a 3. I mean, I guess OG's the 4. And then people will be like, well, the Knicks made it, like, without Randall, they still were the number 2 seed, and they won all those games. Clearly, in the Indiana series, you were like, it'd be helpful to have another big guy. Like, 6'4" Josh Hart cannot be your power forward against bigger matchups.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he was healthy, maybe the Knicks win anyway. But, like, if OG's there, whatever. I don't know if you trade out Randall for Mikal Bridges, the team is better.
Yeah, I just think he's gonna get bullied. I think by some 4s. I haven't seen Randall get bullied by anybody. I don't know. Downgrading in size for a team that's already not huge, I don't think is a great idea. I do like the idea of having the whole Villanova lineup. I mean, if they do that, they'd have to re-sign Ryan to just sit on the bench, but just to get all 5 of them.
Yeah. I think you would also that, or you get rid of OG for Mikal Bridges, which in theory maybe you could do that. Bridges plays like awesome defense, also not the same level of OG, but there's no world with the Nets are making this trade with the Knicks. So I think that's I heard the analysis on the radio where they're like, well, if you just blow them away with like an offer, you'd have to make such a one-sided offer that it would be a terrible move for the Knicks.
Yeah. I mean, I think like one guy and maybe one pick. Like, I don't think Bridges is this like.
Oh, the Nets are not trading for the Knicks unless you're giving like 3 or 4 first.
I know, and I'm just saying I don't think Bridges is. I think he's good. I think
Okay.
he'd like him on the team. I don't think he's like, wow, we got to get this guy.
Next, this one's going to require a lot of picks and Randall. They're all going to require Randall, I guess. Kevin Durant. So you get Durant here. He can play the 4. He's an all-time great. He's older, complete bitch, but and he worked out so well the first time he was in New York. But he's the one guy in this list that, like, if you swapped Durant for Randall, it elevates the team. You can't argue against that.
For like a season, he's 36.
Yeah, well, if your goal is to get one title, and I think anyone who's like, oh, my goal is for a dynasty, my goal is one title. We can figure out the second title after that. I need a title in my lifetime.
I think that's way too risky.
I mean, you see what he did in Phoenix this year? I mean, he got them to the finals, right?
Yeah, let's go like 4 years in a row of him asking to go somewhere else.
I assume Phoenix. Apparently, I guess they got rid of their coach. They fired. Who they hire? They hired.
I don't even know.
Vogel? I don't know. Whatever. Or did they hire Bud?
I haven't been paying attention to Phoenix.
Oh, whatever. Who cares? The next one, Joel Embiid. If you enjoyed watching Joel Embiid play on Philly, how much more fun would it be to root for that asshole?
I'm not even entertaining this one.
The next one, Paul George. If you enjoyed Knicks injuries, why don't we bring another guy who's never healthy? Why don't we get Zion also and get Greg Oden?
What if we got a guy who was less healthy but also 6 years older?
Last one, Donovan Mitchell.
The same argument as Devo.
Mitchell, probably better.
I'm not saying
He's a
Devo's
flat
better
out
than
better
Mitchell.
offensive player.
Yeah,
There's no question.
Yeah. But is he $40 million a year better? And I say no.
I mean, it really comes down to how you want to allocate your resources. The Knicks are going to spend a ton of money. And the money shouldn't prevent you from becoming so great. I don't know. Do you think Brunson and Mitchell would be such an amazing job of sharing the ball that it would work out so well?
No, I think it would look like it did with Garland and Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't work out. I mean, Cleveland, I'm assuming Mitchell might be traded this offseason, but I think his chances of being a Knick are pretty low at this point.
I think that ship has sailed. And honestly, like I said, I think cap-wise, it doesn't make sense to get a shooting guard that makes 5 times as much as our shooting guard, who's doing a fantastic job.
Okay, let's go.
And you're
Let's go
also
to questions.
downgrading defense. We have one.
Okay.
We have one email.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do
this
email.
is from Angel. He wrote, we didn't do a show last week, so it's a little outdated. But
What's your prediction for the series?
yeah, my bros, this is coming after the first game in the Indiana series. Have you noticed how Brunson always takes the full 16 seconds to get the ball across the court line? Fortunately, it hasn't resulted in a penalty, but do you think he's cutting it kind of close? It's funny because I was actually thinking the same thing at the beginning of the series. The full court pressure that the Pacers were putting was a great strategy. It tired the team out. It gave the Knicks, it cut a third of the shot clock off immediately. I thought it was a good strategy.
I mean, I think Brunson, to a certain extent, also played a little bit too much hero ball, but it's also like he was injured. So, like, if he wasn't injured, he probably would have just made the shots. But he missed a bunch of shots late in the series and more distributing.
On the other hand, two of the better offensive players on the Knicks are Randall and OG. So, as good as Hart was, he was playing well above the way he normally does on offense. And I don't think you can depend on like your 6th scoring option to like carry the load in the playoffs.
Right. I mean, McBride looked good at times, but like the dude's only been playing real NBA minutes since January. There's only so much you can expect for the guy in the playoffs. Like, I also hate the takes, by the way, of people that are like, well, you know what? If IQ and RJ were still here, the Knicks would have done nothing. They would not have been the 2nd seed. They would have been like the 9th seed, and they would have been out of the playoffs already.
Correct.
Like, it's insane not to understand though how much better the team is and those guys are great, but the Knicks have elevated since then.
I mean, just go to December 31st. The Knicks were like a game above 500.
Okay, Nick writes, are we rooting for the Pacers or the Celtics?
Not even watching the series. Don't like either team.
Yeah, just take a pick.
If I had to take a pick, I would say, Jesus.
Well, the logic here, Jay, is that you root for the Pacers. The Pacers win, it justifies the Knicks team more because you're like, oh, look how good this Pacer team was. The Celtics win. Well, at least they beat the crap out of the team we wanted to beat the crap out of.
Yeah, I know. I think the Celtics are just gonna smash the Pacers. Like, I don't even see a close series.
I mean, the Celtics are missing KP for I think at least the first 2 games.
Yeah, but the Pacers are missing Mathurin.
The Pacers are missing Mathurin, and it's almost the exact same thing.
That's like when Philly was like, "Look, Melton isn't playing. It totally evens out."
They're like, Embiid's injured. Like, half our guys are not even in the room. What are you talking about?
Right. I get he's not 100%, but like he scored 50 points. He's feeling good enough to do that.
I am going to say I am rooting. By the way, Minnesota's comeback against Denver was insane last night, and
Yeah.
I'm rooting for Minnesota the rest of the way because it'd be kind of a cool story if they win the title.
No, of course. Minnesota has suffered just as much, if not more than, I think more than the Knicks over the last 20, 25 years. I relate to their pain. Happy for them. Go Minnesota.
I mean, they had Kevin Garnett all those years, then he leaves and wins the title. Like, that's just brutal.
I know, but I mean, when you couldn't put anybody better than Wally as like his second best guy, like
Base Nick fan writes, who was the worst star we faced? Fake tough guy, Halliburton or Dirty Mutt Embiid?
Embiid. Halliburton's like annoying, but Embiid was legit dirty. And like,
Embiid
there's
also
no place
like
for that.
flops.
Yeah.
Halliburton wasn't really floppy. He was
Right.
he was prancing around, but he was just hitting good threes. Like, what are you gonna do? Like,
I kind of enjoy, like, I don't like when it's against us, but I enjoy there being a villain. I enjoy trash talking. Like,
yeah,
if a Nick was like trash talking and prancing around, like I loved when IQ used to skip around. It pisses
Yeah.
off the other fan base. I'm all for it. There's no place in the game for Embiid's flops and his dirty plays.
Anthony writes, I can't believe it's over, but moving forward, do you run it back with the same team at least one more year?
Whole team, run back the whole team and add 3 draft picks.
I'm going to run it back for 5 years. I want to keep this roster together. Like sometimes some teams in the 80s, Detroit, what was it? Bulls had to fight through Detroit to get there. Who did Detroit fight through? Detroit had to fight through the Celtics.
Yeah.
The Bulls had to fight through everyone had to fight. It was sometimes you have to put your lumps in the playoffs and you get there. The Knicks are in the 90s, they kept fighting and fighting. They couldn't pull it off against the Bulls, but like
I mean, they made it to the finals twice in the 90s.
yeah, they made it to the finals twice. This team, they have a really good team. Everyone's pretty young. Getting the injuries, like no one's crazy. Like everyone's like Brunson's like 27, Randall's like 29, turning 30. All the guys, Dante's like what 26. All the guys are a reasonable age. This team has like a 5-year window if you go all in with this roster.
100%.
Just adds, sprinkle in some draft picks, maybe improve on like a Bogdanovich, but like this team has. I want to go all in with this team. Oscar writes, tough one to process. This team seemed to overcome everything that was thrown at them. They made it a 7-game series, even when they could have folded, as Tibbs said. It gave us hope, even when they deep down we knew that the likely outcome was going to be after OG went down. Looking back, are we more happy of what was probably been the best season in 24 years, or more regretful for the what ifs had we stayed healthy? Was this a championship team based on what we saw in January, and adding Mitch, Bogdanovich, and Burks to that?
I'm very annoyed that I feel like this is a what if season, and I really think it was the path to the finals was pretty open. I know the Celtics are really good, but I think the Knicks match up really well against them. That being said, I think there was a lot of really good development for Dante and McBride, and if they keep them precious, like I just think like they're going to be better. And Hart, they're going to be better next season, and maybe they lose in the playoffs if everybody's healthy and they don't have that development. I think next year they're going to be like way better.
I mean, the amount of development. Look at where we were start of the season. Start of the season, Mitch, who had a great until he got injured, was really great in defense. But like he was our starting center. Ihart, who was the backup, who even coming into last year, we didn't even know what we'd get from him, and he was pretty good last season. He proved to be a goddamn force where we're like hoping to keep him in free agency because he was so good. Like Randall had another All-Star year, proved like he had early season woes, but proved like the dude is dependable. And outside the freak injury, like you expect Randall to be a big force next year.
Both of these injuries were for Randall were just complete fluke. Like I don't consider him injury prone. They were just these random like weird one in a
But,
million
like,
things that happened.
you look at the like Brunson coming into the season, you were like, we have like a guy who's like borderline all-star. This season he became all NBA.
Yeah.
The dude looks like a guy who could lead you to a title.
Mm-hmm.
Dante went from like, I don't know what we have here. He's a backup to a guy who's like an awesome starting shooting guard.
I'm like
Like,
arguing not trading him for Booker. Like
yeah, like it's crazy how good he's been.
yeah.
McBride went from a guy who like we were like, I guess he's just a G leaguer to a guy like, hey, you want this guy to play major minutes off the bench. Like,
Yeah.
this guy is awesome. There's so much development on this team. Josh Hart went from like I mean, he was awesome last year also, but like he really took another leap. He was also Hart was terrible in the playoffs last year. He was great in the playoffs this year.
He held that entire team together. He was at one point in the second round, he was still leading the entire playoffs in rebounds. Like
I mean, do
over
you remember
Jokic and Embiid, like out rebounding these guys. Insane.
Do you remember how bad Josh Hart was against Miami last year? How little he gave in that series?
Yeah.
He was not big in the playoffs, and now he's taking the leap to being like, hey, I can be awesome in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's a huge step forward.
Yeah.
I don't know, this roster's a lot better than it was early. Like to start the season, like it's crazy. We start the season off with Brunson, Grimes at 2, who's on Detroit now. We had RJ, I guess Randall, obviously, and like Mitch. The team is so different now.
Yeah. Yeah, with IQ coming off the bench, McBride out of the rotation.
I mean, it's crazy that like IQ and I mean, I wish him the best in Toronto, but like it's crazy how Liam Rose has done an amazing job. Daniel writes, great year, great team, nothing to be ashamed of. Love the team, love the podcast. Looks like we get to keep you guys around for another year since we didn't win the championship. Jay and I have said we'll retire when the Knicks win the title.
Yeah.
So Jay, I look forward to doing this show when we're 95 years old. Question. If iHeart and OG are re-signed, how much money do you think they get? I'm saying 17 and 35.
Yeah.
Does Randall get traded or stay? I want him to stay.
Mm-hmm.
I think zero chance. I think I think the fact that Tibbs likes him, he's all bought in with Tibbs. Like they know what he can do. He's coming back. Number 3, use draft picks or trade them. We're both on the use the draft. And the only way I'm trading the draft pick if you're trading up in the draft.
Yeah.
Like you take the 24th and 25th pick and trade it for the 12th pick because you like the guy at number 12. That sounds fine to me.
Yeah.
Dow writes, well, it was awesome, but Matt writes, how did the Knicks resist knocking Halliburton on his ass? I've never seen such a prancing, outright traveling, 3 little skips to set up for his girlish push-up shots, and misplaced bravado as this chump displayed over the last few games, all while dining out against third-string Knicks unit, made me sick to my stomach.
He's going to be in for a rude awakening if he plays a healthy Knicks team next season.
There's a guy on TikTok who had these videos where he's playing basketball and he just does all the moves the NBA players do, like just dance around, and you're like, with just blatant travels, and you're like, and then he plays the clip of the NBA player doing that blatant travel.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of Tyrese Halliburton's threes is a blatant travel, and I know this shit's not called in the NBA, but he does this like jump. You're like, you can't do this. You can't move back a couple steps and then shoot.
Or take 2 steps and then slide your foot. Like,
yeah. This shit is not like, it's like, whatever. I know. I mean, like, it's also crazy when the NBA they call traveling because you're like, every other play is traveling. Now you're calling it.
Yeah. Seems so arbitrary.
It really seems arbitrary. So Knicks are awesome. Successful season, Jay? Jalen Brunson says it was not a successful season. Do you disagree with him?
It's a disappointing end, but it was successful. They got more wins than anybody thought they would. They finished a higher seed than anybody thought they would, and they made it further than anybody thought they would. And that was with all
they're
the
not a
injuries.
fluke, despite what Draymond Green says.
Yeah, everybody was saying the Knicks are going to get less wins than last season, and they might be a play-in team, and they'll probably lose in the first round. That was the narrative going into this season. So, 2 seed, second round, almost the conference finals with all those injuries. I mean, I think it's a step in the right direction. And
This is the
really,
brightest our future has looked the entire time we've done this podcast.
I have very high expectations for next season. I'm probably
Yeah.
gonna bet the over on wins no matter what it is.
I mean, I'm assuming the Knicks 50 wins again next season, 2 or 3 seed. I think a very decent chance of going to the finals. Every year, I mean, so they played one extra game than they did last year. We're gonna keep moving forward. Next year, we got to get to the conference finals or the finals. Team's good.
I
They
mean,
got a lot going for them.
we're in a time where I feel like the league is wide open.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good teams, maybe more good teams than there has ever been, but there's not that like. Remember for like 4 straight years, like game 1, we're like, I guess it's gonna be the Warriors and the Cavs.
So this
Like,
is is it
It's
4 years
just so
in a row?
boring. Like game 1, you knew who the finals were gonna be. It's not like that anymore.
Or you at least you're like, well, okay, who's Miami going to play this year? Is it going to be a San Antonio or maybe the Lakers?
Yeah, maybe 3
Um,
to 4 teams.
Or
Like,
not the Lakers, whatever. Like it's just 3 or 4 teams. So this is going to be 6 years in a row where it was a different touch on a different champion. This is the first time I don't remember the team having such parity in the NBA in like so long.
yeah. So I think the
and also
path is open.
a year ago, people were saying for Minnesota. I mean, like the reason to root for him. A year ago, people were like the Rudy Gobert trade. What did Minnesota do? Where are they going? Should they trade Towns? What are they doing as an organization? And Minnesota's like, we're going to win a title. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So the Knicks, what are they doing? They're going to come back and win a title.
There you go.
So anyway, by the way, just want to add also, Jalen Brunson got injured when Jay went to the game. It's all his fault.
Mark's leaving out the fact that he went to the game.
No, but Jay went to the game 5, where OG and Brunson. Well, I guess Brunson hurt his foot. OG also got hurt. Jay, just take the credit for ruining the season for us.
I will not. The black cloud has been passed. I no longer no longer take ownage of the black cloud.
Okay. Can you send the black cloud to who are we rooting the most against here? Of the remaining 4 teams.
Probably the Pacers.
Okay.
I just think
send the black cloud to the Pacers.
I just think it's so. You played the Bucks without Giannis and half the series without Dame. You played half a Knicks team, and then you're just sliding into my mentions talking shit. Like, that fan base is
No excuses,
shame.
Jay.
No shame.
No excuses.
I would be embarrassed talking trash after beating a team that had 6 injured guys. Like, that's just like, I don't know.
Jay, you know, if the Pacers had 6 injured guys, they would still win because no excuses.
They're literally complaining about Mathurin being injured. It's shameful.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're nyknickspodcast@gmail.com. We're NY Knicks Podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Patreon. Did I leave anything out? Twitter. And we also are on Twitch at Crumpled Bacon on Twitch. And if you could leave us some reviews on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or something, that would motivate us to do some shows over the summer. If not, we will see you in September.
We'll do a show again before the sometime in the near future.
Well, we got to do a draft episode. We got to do a free agency episode, and then we'll see. We'll see what happens over the summer. We do have a comedy podcast called The Brink of Sanity. We will be doing
more of that.
More of that over the summer. Hopefully more episodes of that. And yeah. So thanks for listening, everybody. It's been a fun season. We do have a Discord as well. So if you go on any of those sites and there's a link to our Discord, we chat during the game, and so it's been fun chatting with you guys during the game as well. And
I'm thinking of signing up for it.
And if you can't find the link, just email us nyknickspodcast@gmail.com, and I'll email you the link. And that's it. So yeah, we'll see you all soon. As soon as something happens, we'll do another episode. It'll probably be around draft time.
We'll probably do a season wrap up episode. We're
Yeah.
going to switch the brick.
Yeah. So Brink of Sanity, you can find that on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and everything, brinkofsanityshow.com. And we will talk to you soon.
My love. This is the end. Say goodbye. You cannot go away. I'm gonna leave you. It's the end. Goodbye. Goodbye. Just leave me alone. Feels so good to say goodbye. I'm sick and tired and I'm saying goodbye. Goodbye, girl. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. Everybody.
All right. So that
Yeah, you got to
was-
become a baseball fan now. This is basketball's over.
So I went to a baseball game in Baltimore.
Oh, you ended up going. I thought you got rained out.
It did. I was at the stadium.
Oh, okay. Oh, by the way, so I thought it was funny. So Liz was saying like how like Morgan was like watching, like sitting down watching the game with us. But she's mostly on her iPad, but she was watching the game with us. And Liz like, you should take her to the game also. And first I'm like, I just paid a small fortune. I can't pay another small fortune to like get her to go also.
Mhm.
But I was like, I'll take her next season. I can take the three of them. I can take her and Zach. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, you know what? Like Liz, you know what I can also do? Like WNBA is playing. I can take her to a WNBA game. And she's like, come on. No one cares about the WNBA. She wants to go see an NBA game. I was like, but aren't you like, you're a woman? Shouldn't you be like promoting female basketball? She's like, come on. No one cares. Come on.
That's funny. I don't know why it's our job to support women's basketball too.
That's the whole what's his name?
Bill
bit.
Burr.
Bill Burr bit. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
He's like, it's not our job. You women go to the games. Like you support yourselves, and it'll be fine. Like we don't have to support your basketball.
Right. Exactly.